Education is the heart and soul of the Sam Villa brand as we stand before you for the love of education.
Whether it's through live education or maybe through social media, we're always trying to make a personal connection with you, the learner.
Our contributions in education will be our legacy in this age.
At Sam Villa, our smile is our logo, and our personality is our business card. And how you feel when you walk away after an educational experience is our trademark.
The heart of Sam Villa is education. Join our journey, my friends, and we will change your life behind the chair.
For joining us here on a wonderful Tuesday. Please pop into the chat where you're watching from. We'd love to know who is here in the audience with us. A couple of announcements before we get started. We do have a great promotion going on at the website. The Streamline Series Shears and the Artist Series Blow Dryer are both on sale. You can find out more at samvilla.com. And if you do love the tools, you actually have an opportunity to make a little bit of money through the affiliate program. So you can head to samvilla.com for more information on how to sign up for your own affiliate code, where you will earn 20% commission when your friends use your code, and they earn an additional 10% discount, even on top of discounted prices, which is pretty cool. And if you enjoy Sam Villa education, of course, you can bring the Sam Villa ArTeam into your salon, live and hands-on. You can head to samvilla.com/education for more information on that. So today, for Transformation Tuesday, we have the awesome Devine. Ellen is a Sam Villa ArTeam member. She's a Master Stylist at Lunatic Fringe Salon, and she has such an incredible drive to teach. She has been on the trade show circuit for many, many years, both on stage and in classrooms. And she is described as having a traditional style with a twist. So let's welcome in the chats the awesome Ellen Devine.
Good morning. Thank you, Andrew. We're really excited about today because I'm going to go over like a shaggy bob. I think it's super relevant what's going on right now. We're getting a lot of the fringe happening, the texture that's going on. So we're going to just do this really textury kind of bob. And then I'm going to show you how to style it. So we're going to get right into it. I saw a bunch of people talking in the comments. I saw Louisiana, Illinois, San Diego. I used to live in San Diego. It sounds beautiful there still. Welcome. We're going to be doing a pre-cut bob and focusing just on the layers. Okay. So how many of you guys like cutting bobs in the salon? If you have any challenges, type those into the chat box so we can talk about those challenges and what we can kind of do to alleviate those, especially when layering hair. I think it's interesting. First, I'm making sure my mannequin's nice and centered here. But I think it's interesting when we cut on dry hair versus wet hair, we get a very different result, right? So we're going to do this whole haircut dry. And I want you to type in the comments why you think dry versus wet. Just put that in the comments. Why would we cut on dry hair versus wet? Before we start, I want to show you the sectioning, okay? So I've pre-sectioned like a cooking show so you can see what's going on. So if you've watched me before, I do a lot of the same sectioning because it's foolproof. It's something that works for me. So I'm going to show you the top here. So what you're going to notice is we have our fringe section in front. It's like a little triangle. Then we have our two front sections here on the side. Think of like your quadrants. So it'd be the two front quadrants. And then in the back, we have these four almost like pie-like sections here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back. And you'll notice that they section all the way down to the nape area. So it's a vertical section. The way I was taught to cut, we call this vertical breakdown. What it's going to do is it's going to keep the hair in its natural fall position so that when I cut it, I know exactly where it's going to lay. And it's just going to keep it nice and tidy for me. Okay, so we're going to start with, I think the fringe is where I want to start because it's a big change. And we know that the fringe takes a while to get used to, so we want them to sit with it a bit. Okay, so I see dry cut, so we see how it naturally falls 100%. Someone said, I hate doing bobs and try to cultivate a non-bob clientele. Hey, you got to do what you want, but I'm actually glad you said that. I think it's super important to know what you're into and what you're not. One thing I know for sure, though, is if you can do a little bit of everything, you at least can dip your toes into those, because really bobs are not just the classic bob that we used to do, right? It's not a stacked bob. It's really, think about the length is really all that makes a bob. Other than that, I'm just doing layers, right? So I'm going to do layers. The bob is just the length that we're focusing on. So I would say challenge yourself a bit, get a mannequin, maybe do this cut on it, do something a little more modern and fresh, and maybe it'll help you like bobs a little bit more. I love doing bobs. I like all types of bobs. I don't know why. It's super satisfying for me to give like a very structured cut. And I just think for some people, it extremely suits their face shape. So keeping that in mind, other than that, it's almost like a shag with a shorter length. That's all you have to think about. So challenge yourself a little bit. Okay, so we're going to do dry hair so we can see that canvas. We're going to get a little more texture to it. But we're going to start with our bangs. So I have this triangle. Okay, so here it is. What I did is I just separated another mini triangle in the center there. Because we want like a curtain bang effect, but I want these pieces almost like the bottleneck bang. They're going to be a little bit longer. And then in the middle, it's going to have shortness. This is just how I like to cut my bangs now, because I've noticed that we don't really love how it piles up and gets heavy on the sides. So we want to keep shortness in the middle here. Excuse my comb. Shortness in the center. And then these are almost going to be like little wings that kind of connect them over. I get it, Jolene. She said, I can do the bobs. I just don't like to. I understand. There's just some hair that we don't love doing, right? And that's maybe how you choose and decide your specialty in the salon, right? Okay, so here we are. We got another mini triangle, and I'm just going to turn her a little bit here so we can see. Someone said, I see what I'm doing better on dry versus wet hair, 100%. The best way I can explain it is if I had a big stack of paper and I cut a single paper, just one sheet of paper, cut it with scissors, would you agree that you can actually get a very crisp line out of that? So a very precise line. If I had a stack of about 20 papers and I took scissors and I cut them, it's going to be a little bit more frazzled on the limb, a little more textured. And that's kind of the purpose for me, why I like to take big sections of hair while I'm cutting dry, because it's going to give me more texture. And in general, on dry hair, you see the canvas you're working with. So 100% correct there. All right, so I'm going to leave this in its natural fall. I'm going to choose a guide to start here. And I'm just going to go right in the center front. One thing I like about using our dry cutting clips, or just our dry sectioning clips, when I point them up, is as I'm working, instead of having to use a million clips, I'll just kind of fold the hair behind it so it holds it, just so I can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so this is going to be the shortest piece that we're working with. I'm working right now with our classic dry cutting shear. So, and I'm going to be using pretty much texture shears almost for this whole haircut. So we're going to get into that, and I'll show you once I get into the layerings. I always like to kind of establish a little structure first in the bang area. And I think we're going to start, probably right at, what is that called? Right between about. It's not the bridge of the nose. It's above the bridge of the nose. I'm just going to do a tiny little piece that's short there. Okay, and now taking my new guide here, I'm just going to hold it in my hand and almost cut up like a V, right? So now I can cut down here. And I'm just establishing where I want these bangs to live. Now I round brush this hair. So it's funny, whenever I do fringe in the salon, I always tell my guests to trust the process, because I've styled it with no part, right? So I've almost taken it and done an X pattern. And then I took a round brush just to kind of smooth it out, give a little body to it. But I would say trust the process, because I'll typically cut it and then I have to restyle it almost after every cut I do with my sleeker iron to get a little bit of bend in there. So we're going to cut it. We'll style it a bit. I have my sleeker heating up. Okay, so here's my other guide that I'm working with right in the center. And I'm just going to slightly over direct this. So I'm going to take it and just push it to the corner of the eye. What's up, Andrew?
Could you bring her a little bit closer for us?
Yes. Let's see. Let me move some stuff around here. Yeah. Okay, how are we doing? Good? So I'm going to get as close as I can. Okay, so I'm just shifting over to the side here. There's my guide. See, that little piece is my guide. Someone said, for curly hair, would I start at the tip of the nose? You definitely can. I would definitely stay longer with curly hair. I mean, think about when you cut curly hair, it's going to bounce up quite a bit. Sometimes it depends on the actual curl type, but it could be up to an inch or more sometimes. So I would definitely stay longer. Okay, all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to slide to the outside of this guide right here. And I'm going to go over and establish it on the other side. So now I know where I'm going to end. So all I have to do is cut from point A to point B. Okay, all I'm doing is lifting and I'm just shifting over. The reason I'm shifting over is because I want to keep the weight, meaning I'm not cutting any layers in it right now. I'm not graduating it by any means. It's slightly out of its natural fall, but not a lot. And I'm doing that because I know I'm going to take texture shears to this and kind of make my mark in it that way. Point cutting up just to give a lot of texture. And to be honest, after I style these with my sleeker, I'll probably go through and take a little bit more off. But what's important for me is I want to leave some kind of whip on the end there just to kind of play around. So now I'm going to go with my sleeker. I'm going to back up a little bit just because I got a lot of things going on right there. And I'm just going to give a quick little bevel to it. It's a C shape. And I'm going to let it cool down. And I do this in the salon. When I let it cool down, I'll keep my comb right there so it's not right against their head, because I know that can get a little hot, can get a little steamy. And then just taking that sleeker and peeling away at the sides. Okay. I'm going to hold off to take any texturizing to it till we get the outside. Okay. So right here, now we're going to add the outside fringe to it. Okay, and this is great too. This is something that I would ask your clients, like when you pull your hair half up or wherever you're going to wear it, where do you want to see that fringe end? Do you want it longer? Do you want it shorter? Okay, so we'll get as close as possible here. I'm going to grab my shears again. These are the classic. When we cut with dry cutting shears, we like to use something that's almost going to like push the hair. It'll give me a little bit more softness to the edge. And so I really love these for that reason. I'm going to take this outside section and I'm just placing it in my comb with the teeth facing up. And I'm just going to rotate to the corner of the eye right here. Okay. And I'm going to tilt her head down so you can see that. Just like so. Okay. So when you're cutting, keep their head all the way up. This is not going to blend right now. So I just want to show you. Let's get this out of the way. When I take this, we're going to go opposite corner of the eye. Now, why I'm going to the opposite way here is I want it to be rounded. So it's going to be a little bit softer. I'm going diagonal with it. Corner of the eye. And then I'm just going to go through and point cut this off. Now, I'm cutting this a little different just so you guys can see right now. Typically, here's what I should do. My body position is right on the opposite side. I'm going to keep her head straight up and then cut. So I would have it all up like this. Okay. And now here's what I love about it. I get this kind of long piece that I can play with. I personally just like to give myself room to play, especially because I do a lot of texturizing in the salon. So I don't want to cut too much off, knowing I'm going to go through and texturize quite a bit. Same thing as the other side. I'm going to go through and establish a visual guide for where I want that fringe to end. It is right at that jawbone. So what you can do is simply, let me get this out of the way so you can see. You can just take a piece of the outer edge of your section and you can cut a reference point. Okay, so this can be guide B, if you will, because you'll have A and B. But just on the outside, I know I want it to kind of land on the jaw there. And then when I'm doing this one, you have to check out how I'm elevating it. So I'm actually lifting the hair. So I'm actually cutting layers at the same time as length. So you'll notice she's got short to long pieces. I have a lot of layering in there. Is it not good to use my dry cutting shears to cut wet hair? You can. I mean, here's the difference. The blade itself is going to kind of push the hair a little bit. I like to use these on wet hair too. It's just going to cut a little different. So you'll get a little bit more movement with the shear, I find. And that's just my personal opinion. So no, you can totally use whatever. I have those big 7-inch dry cutting shears, and I really like those when I'm cutting thick hair, you know, so keeping that in mind. All right, so here we go. I'm going to over direct, opposite side. There's my guide. And I'm going to keep my elevation a little bit lower here and just point cut. Now I cut the other side a little different because we were looking down, so I can do that again. But I want you to see, we just kind of wrap this over the hair. So it's laying on the scalp right there. I'm wrapping it over. I'm going to do point cuts. And then when I release, it'll be short to long. I got a feeling this might be a little longer because of how I started. So let me get right in front here and reestablish that guide. Sometimes this happens where it's just the guide is not dominant enough for me to find. And that's all good. So you can totally use dry cutting shears wet. I mean, it is what it is either way. It's just going to push a little bit more. In general, I like using these just because they're kind of softer, you know, they soften things out. Here I am just matching my guides here. And I'm going to go through with I'm going to use my 14 tooth point cutting shears. Sorry, my back was to y'all. So I'm going to go through with these, and I'm going to do most of the haircut. These are, I'd say, a newer shear. Let me get those in focus. There we go. Okay, so it's got 14 teeth. It's going to be as if I'm point cutting the hair. So we're going to use this to get a lot of texture. I definitely like to use these dry. Okay, so that's just my opinion. 100% I'm using these dry every time. They take a good amount of hair out. So let me show you side angles here. So when you're using these, if I take my shear, I can go like just towards the end here and see how it's going to take a good amount of hair out. So when I peel back, you can see there's short hairs in there. And it's going to be as if I've point cut on the end. So you're going to get this nice negative space that happens. And I like that, but I like using it dry because I feel personally like I can control how much I'm doing at that point. Sometimes when I texturize wet, it can go like real smooth to real bad, real fast. So I like to do it dry just so I have control of the hair. I see exactly how much weight I'm taking out. And I'll even like to just use the very tip and just sort of peel away at it. Okay, so I'm just peeling away. I'm going to put this back just so I can get out of the way for a sec and do it to our middle section. So I'll go vertical and I just pinch in the first maybe 2 or 3 teeth is what I'm using here. So pinching it in just to get that nice kind of airy feel. Just a little at a time. And I think that's super important when texturizing too. I'm going to get to the side again for you guys. Is to understand that you don't have to just go for it, right? So I used to kind of be, oh, this is heavy. I'm just going to snip away. It's all done like a very like slow pace when I do this because I just want to watch how it lays, see where it's heavy. What do I need? If I find it's a little heavy on this corner, I'll just work that corner a little bit. Slow and steady wins the race. But here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that shortness. It doesn't necessarily blend, but it looks blended, right? So this is definitely one of my favorite texturizing shears right now. I love the Invisablend. That is no lie. I use it all the time, but I'm just going to get a little bit more negative space with this. So really love that. Okay, now we're going to get into our layering. I'm just going to do a little more texture on this side. Walking around. Someone said, love that texture shear. I do too. It's my fave. I think something too important is, you know, I have amazing people that I work with. And I don't know, like when you work in a salon, everyone has different types of shears that they're given, especially if you're fresh out of school, right? So when I first finished school, I remember being a little scared of texture shears. If you guys have ever been a little intimidated by texture shears, type yes in the comment because that's completely normal, right? So I was a little intimidated, but I was also given like the Megalodon texture shears that are like 40 teeth, 30 teeth, and they take a lot of weight out. So I think when you can choose your toolbox as you get into the industry, maybe you've been in it a long time, you get to have multiple different shears. You don't just have to use the ones, right? So I have multiple different ones. We have the Invisiblends. I'd say, Andrew, I'm trying to focus on these. Let's see. Okay, there we go. The Invisiblends have almost like cuts like a razor. I really like them. And they have 23 teeth. So they're going to take very minimal amount out. And I just want to show you. So I would suggest if you're kind of intimidated with texture shears and you're like, I want to start using them more, but I don't know where to start. These are going to be your best friends. So when I use them, they take out such small amount that see how little it comes out. So you can't really tell where in comparison, these are the 14 tooth. This is going to be like deep point cuts in your hair. You can actually see it's going to give more negative space. It's going to take a little bit more out because it's got bigger gaps in the teeth there. So if you're a little nervous, the Invisiblends, those are going to be like the best shears of your life if you haven't had those before. So try those out. Let's get right into the layers. So I'm going to get started with that. I'm going to keep this low. We have to establish a guide to start. And the best view for you guys to see is going to be from the top view. So I'm going to show you from the top, but just know when you're cutting, you want to be straight head up. So I'm going to go right to the high point of the head here and establish how long I want my guide. Now I want this hair to kind of spill forward and be shaggy. So I'm going to kind of bring it forward and be like, okay, I like the length right here. So if I lower this, that's right to about to the top of the ear. So that's where I'm going to go. Top of the ear, I'm going to take those 14 teeth, point cutting shears, and I'm going to cut that length. Okay, so my guide is very small. I'm right on top. I'm going to tilt my mannequin down so y'all can see. But remember, we want this to be straight up and down. Like your client does not have to look down. This is just the best view. Make sure she's on there tight. Okay, so let's see. So we are going to start. I just released the back section here. So took one of my clips down. We're going to start right in the back here. This is called a bevel, right? So it's the whole section. I'm going to take this whole thing at once. And my best body position for this is going to be directly on the opposite side, right? So directly on the opposite side. So find your guide. It's right here. It's a tiny one. I'll just put a little clip on it so I can see it. I'm going to take my section, the whole thing. I'm going to walk to the opposite side. And this is how you would do it in the salon too. Okay, let me see if I can get this a little higher. And what you'll notice is because the bob is cut in there, it's going to be a little bit short on the end. So it's just going to fall out. So you're only cutting what is in your hand. It's going to be the longer stuff on top. Okay, so here is my guide. You can kind of see right there. That's my guide. I'm going to try and do this where my hand's not in the way too much. Okay, so guide right here. Nope, there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to use my 14 tooth point cutting shears. And I'm just going to start going back and forth with it. You can go vertical. I started to, and I was like, that's going to take a long time. However, I'm just going to chew at it until all that hair is released back and forth. Doesn't have to be perfect because we want that texture. Okay, so show you when she goes up. You're going to get hair that falls short to long back here. Okay, so short to long, you can see that curve that's starting to happen. But because I elevated it over the top of the head, I'm gonna get roundness to the shape. And that's really what I'm looking for. So we're gonna complete that on our next bevel. And I'm just gonna slide my clip so I don't pick up the hair I've already cut right there. And do the same thing. Okay, here it's gonna look like in the salon. So you're not gonna see this from the top half, but I'm gonna show you your body position. So head up, I'm gonna walk behind right to where my section is, okay? So here's my section. I'm gonna go further away for this one. I'm gonna comb up. And then I want you to notice all the hair that's falling out. So all this hair is falling out right there. Don't worry about it. We're gonna do something else down there. I'm gonna walk to the opposite side. Oh, I'm so glad it's satisfying to watch. Okay, here's my body position on the opposite side. That hair is gonna cross right over that high point. My comb is gonna come up underneath, okay? I'm gonna grab my guide. I like to slide my guide right outside the comb. And now I'm just gonna go back and forth, okay? So back and forth. I'm standing to the side so you guys can see, but like I said, your body position would be directly in front of that section. Cut that off. I'm just going to release it and it's going to fall short to long. So simple as that. Let me finish these other two sections in the back and we'll show you end result. And then we're going to work on the bulk and I'll just show you some quick styling tips. Here's the next section right here. What you're going to notice is we have that ear area. So it kind of starts to jump. Our hairline jumps there. So anytime the hairline jumps and I know I'm lifting the hair, even though I think this hair is going to fall out, just to be safe, I like to drop that outer edge of the perimeter so I'm not accidentally picking hair up. If their hair is longer, because this is a beautiful way to layer long hair, definitely do that because you could cut a hole very easy otherwise. So definitely do that. Okay, here we are. I'm going to put the head down again so you can see. Other thing that's important is you want it to be like about heart level because we don't want to work too high up, so it helps our body as well. See how this just crosses right over directly where it lives. So why we're doing that, one, I'm elevating the hair. I'm not over directing it. A lot of times we think over direction is just going to be when I lift the hair, move it side to side. I'm not over directing because the hair is broken down into its bevels, which is where the natural fall of the hair is. So this is where the hair naturally lives, yet I'm just elevating it. So when I release this, I'm not going to get extra weight and length anywhere. I'm just purely going to get my layers. So that's why I like to do it exactly there. Oh, designed by Dre. I love that you brought the bulk in the nape because we're going to do that next. So hang tight. We're going to finish the layers, which we're almost done with. And then I'll show you how to take bulk out of the nape and bobs. Okay, same thing on this side. We're dancing a lot today, but we're going to show you every angle if we can. Okay, same thing here. This is where that hairline jumps. I'm just going to drop that perimeter out. I'm going to put a clip in it just because that's what I would do, even if the hair's longer, so that you don't pick it up. Okay, now watch as I comb. So I want to get all the grains of the hair nice and smooth. So I'm going to comb up with my finer teeth. And then if you want, you can just release a little tension by using the wider teeth. I like using the long cutting comb, white comb, dark hair. It's just easier to see. Okay, so this is what it looks like going across now. So you saw when it was looking down, when she's looking down. Here's my guide right here. Boom, I drop it to the outside of the comb. And right here, that's my guide where I'm going to cut. I'm going to show you this way again, but we're going horizontal with it. So see how the hair is wrapping and laying on top of the head? When you think about the head shape, it's round, right? So when you do this, you will get a round shape in your hair. And that is kind of the beauty of just one motion, just lifting it up. So here we are. It's short to long. It's a little textured. It's not super blunt, but it's not too textured yet because I still like to add that. I'm going to drop all my clips and then I'll show you the back here before we move to the front. Okay. Okay, so here's why I love using it. I know the layers are in there and they're very short, but you're not seeing any harsh lines. So I'm getting kind of this frothiness on top, but just like our friend Dre said, like, how do I get rid of the bulk at the bottom? We're gonna do that once we finish the first or the other 2 layers in front, but you can see that you're getting this pop to the hair so you can get nice messy texture, okay? So last 2 sections for the layers, I'm gonna release this and I'm just gonna clip the back because I don't ever wanna pick up the hair I've already cut. I think when cutting dry, that was probably the main hiccup I've run into with myself. If I get going too fast, I end up picking up hair I've already cut, vice versa. So dropping this front section, same thing with the front. Now, I want to keep the hair kind of going forward. So this hair in front, instead of going it directly across, it's going to also cross over this high point. So we're going to take that section of hair and go back with it using the same guide. So that one guide that you establish at the high point of the head will control all of your layers. So make sure you choose a length that you really like. I'm going to drop, this is a little longer here. So to start, I'm going to just drop the outer perimeter because I personally, when I add framing, I like to add it in a controlled way that I can see. So I'm dropping the perimeter. This is just how I actually cut in the salon. And I'm just going to put a clip in it. Okay. Now we're going to come across. I'm going to lower again so you guys can see. All right. See right here. So your body's going to be on the opposite side. Oh, I just did the wrong side. There we go. I'm going to grab my comb. This is all the hair that we know we're going to cut. Pick that up. And same thing, it's going to cross over now. So I'm going to find my guide at the high point here. I take all that hair. You can hold it in your hands or in your comb. I like to use my comb. There's my guide. It's coming directly back across. And I'm just going to lift just so you guys can see. That's where my guide is right there, okay? So boom, and just go back and forth. Now I'm cutting horizontally because whenever you think about, I like to think of clothing whenever we're talking about lines. If I were to go through and do a bunch of vertical sections, not wrong, but it's going to make it really lean. And with this cut particularly, I like just seeing kind of the width in the hair. So when you think of in clothing, like if I wore a pair of pants that had vertical stripes on them, it might give me a little more opportunity to look a little taller. It would give the illusion of length to me. Whereas if I put a pair of pants on that had horizontal stripes, horizontal lines are going to create a little more width. So instead of looking taller, I might look a little shorter, maybe a little bit wider, right? Something I'm not looking to do. So in hair, same thing. Especially if I'm working with finer hair, consider taking some horizontal sections rather than just vertical all the time, because that's simply going to add a little more width to the hair, a little bit more girth to it, just to give it a little bit more body, right? So that's something to keep in mind too. Okay, here's my guide. Boom. I'm going to flip it. Don't do that. Just to show you right there. But this is what we want, right? We want to see that hair laying flat on top. And I'm just cutting back and forth here. Okay, now we're going to we're going to get that struggle with the nape being a little too fat in the back. So let's work on getting that nape area collapsed. And I'm going to take all these clips out. We're going to lift her up. Okay, same with the bottom. I like to texturize my ends in general. Oh man, Lydia, she's looking to the side there. Okay. So here's what we're looking for. No part, right? So there's going to be no part in this if you don't want. That hair is going to spill forward. This is something to play with right here, but let's get some of the weight off the bottom and in the back. So really easy way to do that. We're going to go right where, on most people, I'd say the occipital bone, right? So I'm going to go around the occipital bone area, and we're going to make a horizontal section. So right now I'm just getting everything in front of the ear clipped away. And now we're going to take a horizontal section right where that occipital bone would be. And if you guys have any other questions, please ask. See what we can help with bobs. Or maybe it's even shag cuts, because to be honest, this is like a very common way I would cut a shag as well. Okay, so here's my first section, just a horizontal line. If you want to mask this a little bit more, you could do a zigzag line. You could do something that's going to just kind of blend and mask a little bit easier. Okay, so I'll go on this side. I'm going to grab my 14 tooth shears again. And right here is where we kind of start seeing that bulk, right? So I'm going to take a center part and I'm just going to elevate this hair straight up, right? So it's going to go straight up. This hair is going to fall out. So you're still not affecting the perimeter there. But what we're going to do, I'm going to show you a side angle. We'll start with this one so it's easier to see. I still like to drop that perimeter to be safe. You can pull it straight out, take those texture shears, and just start cutting away any bulk in that area. You can also lift straight up. So I just go straight out and I just start texture shearing and working my way down. So I like to tell my guests, this is going to be a little disconnected. You're going to have some short bits in the back here, just so that they know when they go to cut or move their hair, if they have some short pieces, that's what's going on. If it still feels a little bulky, which it does to me, I'll just do it one more time. I will do this with blunt shears sometimes too. So you're going to get a harsher line when you do it with a blunt shear. I find with texture shears, it's just a little bit softer. And then I just kind of want to soften my edge here. So all I do is take my comb, okay, just like so. And I'll just point cut in with my 14 tooth point cutting shears, almost on a diagonal so that I get more area covered. So boom, you can see it just sort of collapses the shape and compared to this side where it's a little bit fuller, right? So what texture shears you're using, which texture shears are you moving? I'm still using the 14 tooth point cutting shears. I'll show you guys with the Invisablends, the difference. It's going to probably take me a bit more time to cut through it just because it takes less hair out. You can also use our reversible blending shears. And I'm going to go this way. So we know we're just elevating straight out, but here's what it's going to look like up close and personal. So I'm going to take those and I'm just going to move down as I cut. Okay, so just moving down as I cut. And if I want to do a little more, I can. Okay, so little at a time. Okay, I'm psycho about balancing it. So now I'm going to go to this side and just use a little bit of the Invisablend on this side. And there's really no right or wrong way to this. It depends on your guest's hair, how much the weight they want to lose. You know, depending on that, you can take more, you can take less, but it's definitely going to collapse it. Okay, would this be good for thick hair and density, or would it be good for short hair to push it and look bushy? So I use this on thick hair all the time. This is a technique I use all the time to collapse. If it's bushy, maybe if they have texture, it seems like you're asking if they have texture to their hair and you're worried about it getting a little too bushy, go in with your blunt shear and do it. And if you do that, I'll just show you. You could do the same thing, but maybe go in and point cut instead. So it's going to look a little different on this side because I'm going to do it a little different. You could go through and just point some of that off, but now you will have short hair on top, but look at how much it's going to take weight out. So you can control that bushiness if you're worried about using texture shears on someone and use a blunt shear instead. So one just tips with that, I always say is just point cut. You can do blunt cut too, but it's definitely going to give a more invisible stack, if you know what I mean. Cool. So easy way to collapse it. You're so welcome, Dre. Thank you for asking. Okay, and then just right on top on the edges, it's still a little heavy. So I'm just going to go through and texturize with those 14 tooth point cutting shears. So we're getting close to end time as well. I'm going to just texturize the ends a bit, but know that I usually like to work this quite a bit here. So I'll just take the ends in vertical sections now, just to give a little bit of texture on the bottom of the hair. And then I'm just going to show you in the front how to get that kind of textured wave that I think really suits bobs. And I'll show you on just one side, and then we'll post the results on my Instagram so you guys can check it out for time. But, you know, I think something to keep in mind when you're texturizing, just do it with intent and purpose. Don't just go for it. Don't just go blindly with it, but really understand why you're choosing to do it. And like I said, choose the correct shear on why. So see how just doing that one side lays different than this side, the bulk, okay? And it even actually lifts it. That's crazy. So that's something else to keep in mind. When I have guests that are like, I want to go exactly here at the collarbone, if I know that I'm going to put a lot of texture in there, I'll go a little longer. And then by the time I'm texturizing, it just kind of lifts it a little bit. So just a little tip there. Okay, let me show you how I like to style this. And like I said, I'll finish the end result and we'll post it on my Instagram. But I'm going to use two tools for this. And she already has some heat protection in there. But we're going to go through with our sleeker iron and then also our 2-in-1 Marcel. So whenever it is shorter hair, lots of layers, I know that when I start waving it and curling it, there's going to be opportunity for pieces to kind of kick out a little bit and be sticky outy. I'm sure that's a professional term, right? Sticky outy. But it's going to poke out a little bit. If that bothers someone, just keep in mind that they might not like it to look too messy, correct? So I like to do this just to give a soft wave. And I'm just going to pin this hair out of the way so you guys can get a clear vision here. Okay, so we're going to work just in this section. I have my sleeker iron. I set it on low, but there's the 3 settings. So you have the green, which is low, and then you have the color treated setting and then the high setting. So if they have color in their hair, you want to make sure that you are using our color treated settings so that you don't have any opportunity for that color to fade. Okay, see how I'm just kind of running my iron on top. So I'm holding the hair straight out. I'll show you a couple angles. I'll go this way and then we'll turn it to the side so you can see. So I'm taking my sleeker and I'm going on top of the hair. And the best way that I was taught was from Hugo Urias. Shout out to him. He said it's almost like a motorcycle. I don't ride, but Andrew, I think you do, don't you? So it's like a throttle, right? So I'm going back and forward with it. So I'm going to kind of throttle. So when I go on top, very light touch, almost like a loose finger wave. Not quite a finger wave, Ellen, but a wave. And then right here, I'm going underneath the hair and I'm just rotating my wrist back very lightly. Now, same thing on the ends. I like the ends to kick out a little. So I'll just go through super lightly and just turn my throttle, if you will. So it's just going to give me a really soft, lived-in wave. And I love it. I think it looks so beautiful, so soft. It's kind of that effortless wave. You know, when people come in and they want their hair curled, but they want it to not look curled, it's going to give that kind of result. Okay, right on top, just for a little bit of depth to it, I'm going to use my 2-in-1. And now I'm just going to do my classic little twist out curl. So I'm going to leave the ends out and just sort of twist and pull. I don't need a lot of rotation to it. And you could go back and forth with the curls. You can go all back. When you go all back, there's opportunity for them to kind of connect together and turn into a wave. But when I'm in front of the face, I like to always kind of push it all back. Okay, so going in the center of the section, leaving my ends out, and just twisting and pulling those ends smooth. Twisting and pulling. And then this is something to teach your guests as well. I find that people really love learning the little flat iron trick. I think it's just so simple for people to learn. And it does take practice, but as you're doing it, feel free to hand it to your guests so that they can kind of play with it too. You can actually show them how it's done. I'm using the inch iron, the 2-in-1 inch. Okay, so here's going to be the side angle for our little wave. I'm going to split this one in two, this section, and then I'm going to start on top and just very softly, see how I'm just rotating my wrist a little. So just like so. My touch, I would say, is almost like a balayage touch, very soft, because I don't want any creases in it. And if you get some, it's all good. You probably will the first few times if you've never tried it. I still do. Just very gentle with it, and you can still iron out any creases. Okay, here's the next one. I like to kind of sink in the top first because I know I like the ends to kick out on the bottom. If you want opposite, you could go in on top like this, and you'll get a little bit more lift to the root there. Just like so. And final one down low. And then my final curl on top, we're going to switch back to our curling iron. Sometimes I like to do the very top with the flat iron. So let's see how much hair we got left. Okay, see, here's my ends out. You're just going to twist out and pull. The cool thing about this iron is that it can turn into a little wand, which I will show you. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying today. It's crazy. I always think I'm going to go for like 30 minutes, and then I have so much information I want to share with you guys. I just keep sharing. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. And then final one right here. Let's show you one last final wave on top. I'm going to take this and do my little bend to it. I think this time I'm going to go up with it a little bit. Up, down, and just do my waves. Very lived in, very loose. And then we'll shake it out. So just showing you this one side. And like I said, we'll finish it up. We'll post it on my Instagram, which is Ellen Devine Hair. And then feel free to reach out with any questions. We also, you heard about our affiliate program. If you are interested in purchasing anything today, or anytime, I have an affiliate code, which is LND10. So you can always add in there. And right now we have $150 off of our streamlined shears too, I believe. So good deals on that. And then always keep in touch because we do have sales that are always going on. So if you're signed up for our emails, you'll get that. Okay, just shake it out. And you can put a little product in. So you just get a nice kind of soft, loose wave. And then this is what it looks like in the end. Cool. So thank you guys for hanging out, giving me your Tuesday. You have any questions, just reach out on Instagram. But thank you for having me. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Ellen. We love your teaching style and lots of great comments, of course, and the comments about how much they've appreciated today. And so thank you so much for taking your morning to show us this awesome Shaggy Bob.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See you around.
Awesome. And like Ellen said, we do have our affiliate program. So if you are someone that loves Sam Villa tools and you want to make a little extra money, you can head to samvilla.com for more information on how you can become an affiliate. You'll earn 20% commission anytime your friends use your affiliate code. And then they get an additional 10% discount, even on top of the already discounted prices. So for example, now we have the Streamline Shears 100 and the Series Blow Dryer for 81 off. So if they purchase that with your affiliate code, they'll get an additional 10% discount on top of that. If you are enjoying the Sam Villa education, you can bring the art team into your salon live and hands-on, and you can head to samvilla.com/education for more information on how to get some live education. Thank you all so much for watching today. We will see you soon for more education.